So I learned like that, and then I started to realize, okay, well, if I want to actually be taken seriously in this industry, like there are some things that I need to start picking up. So I started to kind of learn design. I went and applied to like different design gigs while I was still like building websites on the side. My first design gig was like at a super small company. It was like four people in a room around like a really cheap picnic table, and they were just like coding and designing like part time. It didn't take me long to get fired from that job because obviously I didn't know what I was doing. I had never worked at a company. So after that, I kept kind of applying to jobs. At this point, I was kind of still in college. And I went and I found a job working at a company that exports video games to Latin America and the Caribbean. And I'm a native Spanish speaker. So for me, it was pretty straightforward to be like, hey, you guys service Latin America. I know how to do graphic design. Let me do your flyers, right? And they would send email flyers to people. So I got my foot in the door there, working part-time after school type of thing. I worked there for about 6 months. And then I was like, hey, by the way, I'm available for this next year to go and actually come in full time. And what I did to do that was I just changed my school schedule to be completely remote, right? So instead of going to school for the second year, I just did full remote classes, and that allowed me to work during the day, come home at night, eat, and then study and do my thing. So worked full time for a few months, and then the owner kind of comes to me and he's like, hey, David, we've got this website, but it's not very good, and we kind of wanted to know, can you build websites? And I was like, kind of, I guess, yeah. So they're like, oh, okay, well, here's the kind of website we want to build. Can you do this? And I was like, oh, okay, well, let me go and take this, and I'm going to look it up, and I'll get back to you. And obviously, I didn't know anything I was doing, so go on Google really quickly, look up some stuff. I'm like, okay, well, this is how you would build this kind of website that they wanted, which was like an e-commerce website. So I was like, okay, you can use WordPress and WooCommerce and all this stuff. And then they come back to me and they're like, okay, well, we actually want the website to integrate with our point of sale system and our inventory tracking system that we use for the entire company. And we want to be able to upload and manage inventory through that system. And I was like, oh, wow, that's like, I've never heard of that before. Okay, well, let me go and look that up and I'll get right back to you. And obviously go on Google and start looking stuff up. I was like, okay. So I found a platform that integrates to this called Magento. It used to be owned by eBay.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're still owned by eBay.
Yeah, they're still around. Yeah.
But Shopify just totally destroyed these guys. But back in the day, this was great for customization. It was on PHP. So we found a company that specializes in the back-end portion that just creates the integrator piece that connects that back-end to the website. So we got them working on that. And while they were working on that, I was then building the website. And that was the first time where I had to actually like sit down and think about the user experience. I was thinking about, okay, what is it like to come to this website as a person that speaks only Spanish, right? Or what is it like to come to this website as a person that only speaks Brazilian Portuguese, right? So then I had to work on building the website once and then working with the sales representatives or the sales leads for each of those territories to then get them translated. So a multilingual e-commerce website, and then we had to think, okay, well, how do we make this so that it's not like a store? Because the publishers, which are the companies that own the video games and all the consoles and all that stuff, they're very strict about where you're allowed to move that merchandise. So if your merchandise is marked for Latin America and that gets found somewhere in the States sold, well, guess what? That's a problem. You know what I mean? So we had to make it very clear, like, hey, you can't order from here if you're from America. This is not for you. You can't order, even though it's in English, you can't order here unless you have an account. So we had to essentially make it so all the add to cart buttons were changed into check price button. And then that button would automatically check to see if they're logged in. If they're logged in, it shows them the price. If they're logged out, then it goes and sends them to a page where they can go and submit their account for registration, right? So it's like all these crazy user experience customizations that they needed for the business. I was just kind of thrown in there. You know what I mean? After I had kind of built the website and got it functional, I worked there for maybe another year or so and working on customizations and maintenance and all that good stuff. And then I realized, like, man, if these guys were paying me whatever it was, $2,000, $3,000 a month, to manage one website, how much could I make if I managed 2 or 3 websites? You know what I mean? And then I started to think, well, how much did that company make that just did the connector piece? I built the whole website. It was a lot of work, right? Like 6 months of work. These guys just built the connector piece, and that's all they do, that connects, you know, that back-end system, that POS system that they use to the website. And they were making 3 times as much as I was doing and doing 10 times less work. And I was like, man, something ain't right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I kind of started to dive in, and I started to think, man, what are the things that I'm missing? And then I realized, well, I have no idea what I'm doing on the technical side, right? So at that point, I didn't even know what user experience was, right? I was just like, man, I have no idea what I'm doing. I really need to pick up the skills.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Design Huddle. The opinions expressed are solely our own and do not express the views or opinions of our employer.